In the last screencast, I went over getting started with Project Hedgehog, launching it, bringing it to the foreground, making a simple tree of to-do entries, and then marking them as done. If you haven't seen that video already, go watch it first. This time, I'm going to start with a more realistic hierarchy, namely the one I actually use to track development of the tool. The file has about 500 entries in it, and I use it constantly, so it should make a good example. By the way, when I describe key combinations, I'm going to use their names on the Mac, but they are the same on Windows. Just substitute the Control key for the Command key. And as a reminder, hit Command/ to bring up the Help window, which lists all the key combinations that you use to work with Project Hedgehog. I'll start by hitting the hotkey to activate it. There are 4 states an entry can be in. In the last screencast, we saw the to-do state and done. But there are 2 other states. The first is category. You make an entry into a category by pressing Command O. You can identify a category entry by the lack of a state indicator. Categories are for areas of ongoing work, and they only exist at the top of your hierarchy. The categories in my tree are development, screencast, administrative, and other, which more or less cover the types of work that I do. Your categories will be different, and it'll take some experimentation to get the right breakdown. And I'll delete this entry by deleting its text. The other entry state is won't do. It's for entries that were to do, but which you've decided you're never going to complete. There's a feature I've been thinking about for the 0.3 release that I decided doesn't make sense, so I'll navigate down to it and mark it as won't do by pressing Command-Shift-D. It's no longer to do, and it's not done, but I still have it there in case I want to refer back to it. So the 4 allowed states are to do, done, won't do, and category. I have my development subtree organized by release, plus an entry to store a backlog, which I have arranged in the order that I want to do them. I'm going to put this feature into the release I'm currently working on, so I'm going to move it over there. I can grab the current entry and move it by holding down Shift while navigating around. If I were using a bug tracking system, I would just have an entry with the ID of the bug. In general, I put lots of URLs and other references in my entries. There's no limit on entry length. Once you've finished one of your subtrees in Project Hedgehog, it serves as a great historical record of what you accomplished. And I tend to dump everything I think will be relevant into my entries. I don't worry too much about typos and grammar. Project Hedgehog is about keeping you on track on your project, but I don't bother trying to make it pretty or a perfect reflection of what I actually did. If I want to refer back to an entry, and I don't remember where it is in the tree, I open the Find dialog with Command F, and I can search the text of all entries. You can search for words or phrases in here, and the results are updated as you type. Right now, let's see where I am in the screencast. I'm going to search for screencast and hit enter. Looks about right. I'm currently recording the audio for the screencast. Let's go back to the development tree. As I navigate to the right, it's always bringing me to the first to do at each level. I tend to jump back and forth between the screencast, which I'm working on right now, and the active development subtree, and it starts getting distracting having to either navigate all the way there or do a find every time. So I'm going to bind some shortcut keys to the entries. I'm going to bind D for development to this 0.3 element and S to the screencast. To bind D, I'll hit Command S for shortcut, and then the letter D. And you can see that the shortcut key is now shown in the top right corner. To bind S to screencast, I'll navigate up and over to it, hit Command S, and then S again to bind the S key to that entry. And now that I have these shortcut keys bound, I can jump directly to them by hitting Control D or Control S. By the way, on the Mac you use Control key to invoke a shortcut, while on Windows you use the Alt key. Note that when I invoke the shortcut key, it doesn't actually take me to that entry itself, but rather to the first to-do entry underneath it, which is almost always what I want. Now I have a problem. Underneath my screencast and development subtrees, I have things all nicely ordered. But once I finish screencast 2, I don't want to start work on screencast 3 right away. I want to finish screencast 2, and then I want to finish development of version 0.3, then I want to do some thinking about the UI. So my next set of to-dos are coming from completely different parts of the hierarchy. This is a totally normal situation, and I use the to-do list window to manage it. So first I'm going to add all 3 of these entries to the to-do list window by going to each one and pressing Command equal. And each time I'm going to hit Escape to hide the to-do list window. So I'll add this entry, and then the last one. I can edit my to-do list window at any time by hitting Command E. I'm going to do that now and drag the entries into the order that I wanted. The to-do list window just stores references to the entries in your hierarchy, so you can rearrange them and delete them without affecting your tree at all. So now the first entry on my to-do list is what I'm working on right now, Screencast 2. And let's skip ahead and pretend that I've already finished it, and mark it and its children as done in the hierarchy. As soon as I mark the Screencast 2 entry as done, the to-do list pops up, because I've finished the first item on the list. It's removed the screencast from the list and highlighted the next entry, which is 0.3 development. And now I can just hit enter, which jumps to that entry and closes the window. And now I'm ready to go on 0.3 development. So that's enough for now. Thanks for watching.